Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today we're going to be checking out the convertible 5th wheel to gooseneck adapter. Right off the bat, what this is going to do is really straightforward. Essentially, it's going to convert your 5th wheel trailer into a gooseneck. So a few different reasons why you'd use this. Our customer here today had a 5th wheel in his truck and he got tired of pulling it in and out. You know, they're big and cumbersome and not that easy to do. So right now he's switching out the hitch in his truck to a gooseneck, and that way it's more manageable. You don't have to pull that big heavy hitch out. Problem was though, obviously his camper has a 5th wheel head. So by putting this adapter on there, he's going to be able to hook up to it still and tow it around. Another popular reason it seems like a lot of people use this is they already have a gooseneck in their truck, right? So say if that's the type of hitch you got in your truck and you're looking at a new camper or whatever the case may be, and it has a 5th wheel head, there's no reason to change out the current trailer hitch in your truck. You know what I mean? You could simply just use a convertible to convert the 5th wheel to a gooseneck, be able to hook up to it, and tow it down the road. Oftentimes, for a lot of the parts that we carry, especially stuff like this, people want to know if it's going to work with their particular application, and it's definitely understandable, right? And we want to make sure that you get what you need the first time. And with this particular setup, this adapter is going to be straight, and so for those of you that have a long bed, this is the one that you're going to want to use. For those of you that have a short bed, there's probably a better option available. It's essentially the same thing as this, but it has an offset, and that's probably the one that you should use, honestly, because with a short bed you don't have as much clearance, cab clearance. So when you're making sharp turns, sometimes the corners of your camper can contact that. So by using the offset one, what that's going to do is push the trailer back a little bit more and give you that clearance that you need. With that in mind, this will work with the majority of the pin boxes, all right, which is this part here, all the common ones for the most part. However, there are a few circumstances where this adapter is not going to work. So why don't we kind of just touch base on that real quick. So this isn't recommended to be used with the Reese Elite Series gooseneck trailer hitches, as well as the factory installed towing prep packages. And honestly, that's not a big deal anyway, because if you got a prep package, you know, the gooseneck ball and 5th wheel head are pretty much interchangeable in the truck and almost on point price wise with this. So that's always something you could check into if that's what you're trying to do. And it's not going to be compatible with the Sidewinder kingpins. So the kingpins that will actually pivot and move around, you can't use it with that, because then it's going to have 2 points where it's got to pivot, and something that you don't want to do, because it'll be potentially dangerous. And also not compatible with the pin boxes that have air ride on them. So sometimes you'll get kind of like an air shock in there, and that's not going to be able to be used with that, as well as the Rotaflex kingpins as well. So I know that sounds like a lot, but honestly, those are all kind of rare and special circumstances. Like I said, the majority of the time you're going to have a box similar to this one here. It's kind of the standard stuff on most of the trailers that you're going to see. So for those of you that do fall into that category, there's other options and solutions available that you can look into and find right here at eTrailer. As far as what this is going to be able to handle, it's going to have a 20,000 pound maximum gross trailer weight rating and a 4,000 pound pin box rating. So weight pushing down and weight pulling. So that should cover or be more than enough for majority of you out there. And one of the things when I first saw this, I was concerned with is how does this actually attach to our pin box here, you know, because I want a secure connection. Obviously you got a lot of weight and you're putting a lot of faith in this. And the way this works, there's a kind of a coupler, I guess you'd call it, that slides up and bolts in, and then this thing slides up over that, and you tighten these bolts down super tight, and it really does a good job of grabbing onto everything and being super secure. After messing around with this, I definitely won't hesitate to back up my own truck to it and do some towing, and it seems like a lot of people have had a lot of luck with this thing, so that's definitely good to see, and would put my mind at ease at least. Something I do want to mention though, when you use adapters and stuff like this, and you know, you're adding some length here, sometimes the ride quality, you know, it can be a little bit harsher at times. It doesn't sound like, from what a lot of people are saying, that it's terrible by any means, but they did notice a slight difference there. And so to help combat that, there's actually cushions inside of here, so internal cushions. And what that's going to help do is eliminate some of that, you know, some of those vibrations and some of that harshness, and help smoothen out your ride a little bit. This is going to work with the 2 5/16 gooseneck hitch balls, so super common. That's pretty much standard for all of them out there. And this is going to be adjustable. So from the top of your gooseneck ball to the base of the kingpin box, so this piece here, that's going to be 12 to 16 inches. So, you know, like I said, it's adjustable. The whole collapsed height of the adapters, so how we have it set up here, is 15.5 inches. And that kind of brings you to my next point. You know, you want to make sure you have the right size of adapter. So what you can do at home, back your truck up under your trailer as if you're going to hook it up, and measure from the top of the ball that you have in the truck to the base of the box here, the pin box on the trailer, and that's going to indicate the size or height adapter that's going to work for you. The mechanism here that's going to allow you to couple and uncouple is really straightforward. So you have your open and lock. So right now it's in the open position, and that's going to allow us to either unhook our trailer or hook up to it. Then once you're hooked up, you move that into the lock position, and there's a notch there preventing it from becoming uncoupled, but just to be on the safe side, they give you this handle, and what you can do is kind of rotate this in like that, and then just leave it like that, and that's going to prevent it from coming unlocked. So it'll still, if it does happen to actually come out and move back, this handle stops it and prevents it from becoming uncoupled. Or what you could do as well is pick up a padlock and put it through here. That'll achieve the same thing, and it's a little extra security too. You know, it'll keep everything locked up, your trailer locked up to your truck. This is going to actually come included with your safety chains too, which is cool. You know, nice touch there. And you can mount them in the back or in the front, so whatever, you know, whatever works for you. This is made out of steel. It's powder coated, so this should be able to really take a beating and hold up for quite some time. I really don't see why it wouldn't. It is nice to say too, because you don't see this now too often, this is made right here in the United States. And you know, other than that, at the end of the day, for those of you that have a fifth wheel type trailer and a gooseneck in your truck, this is going to be a great solution for you. You know, it's easy, isn't really involved or anything along those lines. So, you know, it's a real good solution to a problem that you might run into. As far as getting this installed goes, it's really not too bad. It was much easier than I was anticipating, actually. Really only a few steps. You bolt that coupler on the inside. I use a 3/8 Allen type key to secure that, and then essentially you just hold this thing up. It's pretty heavy, so you might need a friend to help you out. But you hold this thing up and then run these bolts down, torque everything down, and that's really about it. You know, hook up your chains and just some other little things. But one of the things that you might run into, so these bolts here that you tighten, they do have square heads, and you know, you have to torque these with a torque wrench. So you can use an 8-point 3/4 inch socket will work. A lot of people probably aren't going to have that laying around. I didn't, but I was able to find a different style of socket that worked and allowed me to torque these. And really, as long as you got a good bite on there and you're not going to strip these out or round off the corners, anything will work. And I'll show you what I used here in a minute. But with that said, why don't we go ahead and put this on together now. We don't usually show how to install certain items, but with this one being so universal for the most part, I guess you could say, it fits a lot of different applications. We'll go ahead and put this one on together and hopefully give you some guidance, you know, when it comes to installing yours. But with that in mind, the very first thing that we're going to do is take our collar and get it placed over the kingpin. When you take the collar, you want to make sure that you have it positioned correctly. So it's probably tough to see, but it does say top and front. So obviously that's what you're going to want to do there. And you want to make sure that the white line is centered, you know, with our kingpin there. The set screws, the way these are going to work, you back them all the way out, you put this on, and then you'll tighten these down. And you want the set screws to set on top of this edge here. So we'll back this out and get this lined up. Make sure that's centered. Then I'm just going to take a 3/8 Allen key, kind of just start to work around this here. And I'm trying to just tighten these evenly and just enough for it to catch. Looks like it did catch, so it's kind of just, you know, those set screws are catching on top of that ledge that we talked about. So I get these tightened by hand, and then we can come back and completely snug them down. So what you're going to want to do with the collar, you know, you want to snug the set screws up until they're flush and all even, right? If they're not flush, you know, you're going to have to back them all out and kind of run them back down again. But once that is done, we can now take our assembly and get this lifted up into place. With this one, you're going to have these set screws too. All right, and just like the collar, you want to make sure that these are backed out. That way we can actually get it up there. That way, you know, if they're tightened, you're really going to have to fight it. So make sure all those are backed out before you get it lifted up. When you lift this up, make sure that you have it facing properly. It is labeled, so pretty straightforward. And then we're going to lift this up into place. It is pretty heavy, so, you know, having a buddy give you a hand might be beneficial, but I think we can manage here. We'll get that up in place and then start to tighten down these set screws so it'll keep itself up. So now what you want to do, you know, once these are all tightened down evenly and kind of drawn up in there, you need to torque these down to the amount specified in the instructions. So with these having a square head, it's kind of goofy. You can use a 3/4 inch 8-point socket. Probably not going to have one of those like myself. So I actually have a 23mm 12-point socket, and this will work just fine. You know, even if you have a standard size, as long as it fits over there and it's tight, you know, it feels like you're not going to strip it out or round anything out, you know, you should be in pretty good shape. But we'll go ahead, pop it on our torque wrench here and tighten these down to the amount specified in the instructions there. Now with all these torqued, we can take our jam nuts and you just run these down, come back with an 1 1/8 wrench or even a crescent wrench and just snug them all down. From here, we can take the included safety chains and get those secured. So pretty straightforward. Line it up with the hole here and just tighten this down. At this point, you can make adjustments to this if you need to. So you'd hook it up to your truck and whatnot, and you can reference instructions because you know, every setup's going to be a little bit different. Regardless if you adjust it or not, you are going to have to tighten and torque down the adjustment screws the same exact way that we did these ones up here. And that'll finish up our look at of the convertible 5th wheel to gooseneck adapter.